Hello, and welcome back to the second episode of Holistic Healers, streaming from my website, Holistic Healing. I am your host. My name is Morgan Rutkowski. For those who are new to the show, Holistic Healers is a podcast I started to provide a discussion with anyone who is focused on their health, whether they're an expert in their field to even someone who's just starting out day one on their healing journey and want to talk about what they've learned. So hopefully, as we continue, Holistic Healers can become this sort of health and wellness archive from people across the country that anyone can access in order to become the most authentic and healthiest version of themselves. So without further ado, I want to welcome the first time ever guest and my best friend, Zoe Preskorn. Welcome to the show. For
Hi,
those
Morgan.
who don't for those who don't know, Zoe and I go way back. So why don't you tell people listening what you studied in college?
Yeah, totally. So I graduated this past May with a major in exercise physiology and a minor in nutrition.
Did you do any internships? I'm forgetting if you did.
Yeah, I did. Last year, I was a personal trainer and I was a group fitness instructor, and that
Ooh.
was pretty fun.
Did you like either of those?
Yeah, it was all right.
It was all right.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not dying to do it again, so.
What did you think you learned the most from either one of those?
Definitely like connecting with your client. That's a huge thing. Like, I learned that it's training someone, coaching someone, whatever it may be, whatever, a sport, coaching someone with like their diet, coaching a behavior change coach, whatever it is, it's like 50% your knowledge that you bring to the table and 50% like the personal connection that you make with your client.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
What do you think? Because I know you've been, and also for people that are listening, Zoe and I both have grown up in the world of sports.
Yeah.
We both
Yeah.
we both played volleyball. Although we weren't college material for it, we still
Club.
we were club material for it.
Club material.
We got some intramural golds.
Absolutely.
But what do you think you've noticed within the world of nutrition, or like how it has impacted, just your sport experience?
Yeah, well, I mean, back in the day, having a nutritionist on your like coaching staff wasn't really a thing, I don't think. And now everyone, I hope every sports team has some type of nutritionist out there helping the players.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they just bring a lot to the team that I don't think a lot of people really think about, A lot of the times sports teams are focused on how to play better in practice and conditioning trainings and strength training classes, but you're missing a huge, food is where you get your energy from, so that's a huge chunk in performance.
I'm from what I've learned so far with mental health, I think that's a lot too with coaching.
Yeah.
Because I think, right, like the better you eat, the better your mentality, the better your mindset's going to be.
Yeah, the better your body works, period.
Yeah, yep, how it's going to feel, how you're actually going to perform.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this several times, like, the difference of what I was eating in high school to college to even now. I think that really impacted my performance. Like, not saying I would have gone D1 at all.
Oh.
I really think, like, especially just my mentality, showing up to practice.
Yeah, it's just like feeling more in the moment, feeling more awake, feeling more like you have more energy because your body is nourished how it should be, so it's gonna act right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also think, like, the goals too that I had, like, I had no direction, and maybe that was like my age too, just
Yeah.
like if we're referring to high school, like where I wanted to be in the next 5 years, although, we don't necessarily have to have it planned out. I think
Yeah.
a lot of that is fogged up when we're not eating well.
Sure. Nutrition really, diet, I mean, it plays a huge role in your
Mhm,
lives, even if you aren't an athlete.
mhm,
A lot of like your life could be disrupted because you have, cardiovascular disease or something that could have been avoided.
mhm. So, I guess share a little about, what got you into this world of
Yeah,
nutrition.
I love telling the story.
Let's hear it.
Well, yeah. So for the major, I was originally just an ex-phys major, and one of the classes that we had to take was like the sport nutrition class, and I
What
took
was
it, and
involved with that? A sports you said sports nutrition?
yeah,
What was that about?
it was just like how to um feed an athlete, basically, what to feed athletes.
Okay.
And we learned a lot about like my world of food completely shifted with that class. Things that I thought I was doing right before were completely wrong. That was like wrong. So like eating a lot of protein. Like I thought eating protein was like the best thing you could do. And I come into this class and my professor like day one tells me like this country eats way too much protein. And I was like, okay,
Really?
yeah.
I didn't
It's
know. Can you
you
speak
notice
more about that?
yeah, I mean you this America specific the United States specifically pushes protein on their citizens, I feel like a lot. So you go to like an example I have is Subway. And you go to Subway and you see double your protein, add extra meat, whatever. And I'm
Okay.
just like, that is way too much protein, like
Mhm,
30 grams of protein in this sandwich. Okay, you're already over half, you know, just
mhm,
by eating this one sandwich, you've already exceeded over half of your protein
mhm.
intake for the day.
And
You know
what
what I mean?
I've noticed, so a lot of what I've learned from nutrition has come from, other,
Yeah.
not saying I'm a psychologist, but, aspiring
Yeah.
psychologists or psychologists
Mhm.
who are already in the field, or some of the books that I've read, and honestly, just talking to you too,
Yeah.
I've I've learned a little about, like, the acidic diet versus the alkaline diet,
Okay. Yeah.
and I've heard that those more acidic foods can actually have an impact on your mental health. So, like those red
Hmm.
meats, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have red meats. Um,
Yeah.
I can't speak to like veganism or anything like that. Um,
Same.
I wish I could, right? Because I know there's people out. I wish I could, but one, I don't have
Right.
experience with it, and two, I know
Yeah.
there's people out there that actually benefit from it.
Yeah.
But from what I know of these two diets, the acidic foods, create this artificial stressor and put us in the sympathetic nervous system to put you in the fight or flight. And so
Hmm.
the
Okay.
more, like not only like processed foods, sugary foods, but these
Yeah.
like high acidic foods in our world can put us in this fight or flight zone
I
essentially.
know.
I
It's
don't know.
crazy.
I learned about that and it blew my mind and it really
Yeah.
altered the way I
Or
thought.
yeah, or just like the fact that so many people in this country are in food deserts
Mhm,
and don't have access to proper like produce, just simple fruits and vegetables.
mhm,
That's crazy.
mhm. So when you learned all like about all this in your classes,
Yeah,
how did it shift your frame,
dude.
of seeing your own
Yeah,
diet?
I don't. Yeah, well, I was like, I'm eating, fruits and vegetables all day, every day. Seriously, I was like, this is, I mean, I'm in a place where I can afford produce.
Mhm,
And so that's where my what I spend my money on. And just knowing that like this food, this one bell pepper has so much vitamins and minerals in it. is really cool.
I actually learned a little about water. Um,
Oh,
do you know anything about like mineral water and the
yeah.
benefits of it?
Hmm.
I
The
so
more natural it is, the better.
really
Yeah.
I have learned so I actually brought this book over and on the podcast, obviously you can't see it, but we're just talking over video. Um, but it's called Healer,
Oh,
and
look at
it's
that.
the pioneer nutritionist and prophet. And this
Amazing.
book, I need to buy you this book, Zoe.
Look at that lady.
I know she's
She
amazing,
looks great.
but she lived to be 106 or
That's
older.
what I'm trying to do. I'm
Exactly.
trying to, I want to see 100.
I want to see 100,
I want to be alive for 100 freaking years.
but I want to be like actually capable
But
of doing things.
exactly. Yeah, I want to be mobile.
But okay, so
Functional.
within this book, like I said, I'm gonna buy this for you so you can look at it and I want to see what you think.
Gift.
But there's a whole section in it that she talks about mineral water
Hmm.
and how, there's like a difference between a live food and dead food. And
Okay.
a live food, right, is mineral, like it has a lot of minerals, it's nutrient,
Yeah.
has a lot of value for our bodies, it's a lot of energy that it can use versus, all the products that we usually see at the store, the grocery store, wherever, and
Yeah.
it's stripped of its nutritional value. And
Yeah.
it talks
Yeah.
about, like bottled water, it talks
Yeah.
about tap water. I know that's obviously not in stores, but stuff like that where it's processed, it's
Filtered.
filtered. Yeah, and
Things added to it. Like, why do you need to add stuff to water?
yeah, well, and I didn't even
What?
know about that, and I read
Yeah.
a little about it, and I was like, "What the heck?" Like, I
Like,
don't
what are
know.
these extra two ingredients doing in my water that I can't even pronounce?
Yeah.
Suspicious.
Well, those ingredients that you can't even pronounce on the shelf, like, how can we expect those to be helpful for our bodies?
That's what I tell people. When like sometimes I get asked what to eat, by people when I tell them that I studied nutrition in college. And
Mhm.
that's a loaded question. That's a question that's begging to be just a can of worms being opened, right?
I can
Because
only
there's
imagine.
so much. There's so much. And I just tell people, I'm like, you know what? Just eat your fruits and vegetables. And if you are buying something like that has an ingredient list on it, if you can't pronounce that most, I mean, like, I don't know if there's one thing you can't pronounce on there, that's whatever, fine. But like, if you are looking at it and you're like, I have no idea what any of this stuff is, put it back. Just walk away.
Another thing I learned recently was, the closer to its natural form, probably the healthier it's gonna
Yeah,
be. And I think, everything's not absolute, but if I'm looking at a banana versus
right.
banana chips, the banana,
Oh,
in
I
its
know.
most natural form is probably
Yeah.
gonna be healthier.
Right. Well, when you
Banana chips are not healthy, but
chips, god damn it. Well, yeah, when you cook fruits and vegetables, you take nutrients out of it.
Mhm,
So when you do dry fruit, you take out nutrients. When you stir fry vegetables, you take it out. Even steaming like broccoli,
mhm,
you take out nutrients. And so I know a lot of um, people in the nutrition field like to put emphasis on eating raw fruits and vegetables. I can do raw fruits, but I mean, let's be realistic. I'm not going to eat a raw head of broccoli.
just eat the top.
Let's be realistic. But I mean, that's the best way to get the bang for your buck is to just get a carrot and
Mhm.
just eat it as is.
Well, when I work with my clients, and again, for people that are listening that don't entirely know what I do outside of holistic
Mhm.
healing, I'm a clinician that works with the offender population. And, you know, a lot of what they have access to, especially the knowledge, is very limited. And I get the
And
question,
yeah.
well, and I'm not an expert necessarily in the world of nutrition. I know some and I'm learning, and that's part of why this podcast, Holistic Healers, is what it is.
Mm.
Um, But I get the question all the time, what's a balanced diet then? Like, what does that mean and what does it look like? So,
Right.
with your experience, can you talk about, what does a week look like? Or, something like that,
Okay.
how I should be
Sure.
managing my diet.
All right. Balance is so important to keep in mind
Mhm.
when you're trying to change the way you eat. It's hard. It's a behavior change. It's a lifestyle change.
Mhm.
Changing your diet. Um, it's it's a big change, and so a lot of people, I feel like, get caught up with the idea of they only have to eat healthy foods all the time.
Mhm.
That's not the case, I believe.
Mhm.
I think that having that mindset of just like of restricting yourself from eating certain foods
Mhm.
and only allowing yourself to eat certain foods
Mhm.
can lead down a path of disordered eating, which is
Ooh.
really like scary and sad.
Yeah.
And so what I like to tell people is like every day try to incorporate the colors of the rainbow
Mhm.
in what you eat. Because every color, fruit and vegetable, I guess,
Mhm.
each color has different vitamins and minerals. So a
Mhm.
red bell pepper is going to have different vitamins than a yellow bell pepper, and they're going to have different vitamins and minerals than a green bell pepper.
Yeah.
And so that's what I like to, you know, that's what I want people to keep in mind is like add variety,
Mhm.
have a colorful meal for every meal.
Yeah.
Um, and with that being said, like it's okay to eat out for lunch one day. It's
Mm.
okay to, eat out for dinner in the same week. Like it's okay to have pizza one night.
Yeah.
Um, it's all about balance. But I do know people who do restrict their diet and
Uh-huh.
they're fine with it. They can do
Okay.
it.
Okay.
So go
I
them. I could never.
I well, I have two things to add to that. So
Yeah.
first, my question would be, I wonder, how long they have been doing that restricted diet for. Like if this is
Yeah.
right out of the gate or they've had time,
Or
to
they've
adjust.
been doing it for a while.
Because within the world of mental health, most of our habits, our day-to-day routines, 95% of our thoughts, all that stuff, our behaviors come from
Uh-huh.
our subconscious mind.
Okay.
And we don't even think about what we're doing, right? Like if we think about us going to work or
Yeah.
going to school, whatever the case is, you wake up the same way, maybe you eat the same thing,
Yeah.
you put on the order of your clothes the same way. And then when you get out to, if you have a car and you drive to work or you take the same route. And then when you get to
Mhm.
work or you get to school, you do the same thing. And so we don't have to think about that. And I
Right.
wonder when we're changing, you talked about like behavioral changes, it takes time because you're rewiring your brain.
It takes time.
And you
It takes
just
a
have to
lot
be
of
compassionate,
yeah,
to yourself because
a
this
lot of
doesn't happen
yeah,
overnight.
right. A lot of trial and error,
Mhm.
a lot of figuring out what works for you, what you like, what you don't like, and then yeah, having a lot of kindness for yourself.
Yep, just like this podcast.
Absolutely.
First episode, right? First episode with a guest.
Uh,
Uh, but no, I think it's a good point to bring up, right? Like I don't want people on here thinking, "Oh, I don't eat
yeah.
the colors of the rainbow every single day. There's something wrong with me," you
It's
know? Like, it's fine. I always like to say, like,
fine.
80-20%, like,
Sure. Yeah.
80% of your meals, try to make them nutritious, adding nutritional value, stuff that's not being
Yeah.
taken, that are just useless energy sources.
Right.
And 20 is your fun stuff, right? Because
Your
we're still
fun
young,
stuff.
it's going out with your friends if you drink, right? Like, I know
Yeah.
alcohol isn't the best for our mental health necessarily or our physical health, but
Ooh.
it can be fun sometimes, right?
But
Like,
fun.
yep.
Love a
Yep.
good margarita.
But,
Mm,
and that's for, people to decide on their own.
yeah.
But I think you're right, compassion is key. And I think that also creates success. The more compassionate you are, the more likely you are to succeed with it. Okay, so since you studied nutrition, college, um,
Yes.
can you speak to just like some of the topics that you learned about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a good starting point is the basics, your macronutrients. Macros provide calories. This is where you're going to get your calories from. Are these three macros? You've got your carbohydrates, your protein, and your fat. And it's important to know that each macro does a different job.
Okay.
So all food is energy.
Mhm.
However, protein and fat, that's not their number one job. That's carbs' job, right? Carbs are here to give us they're the preferred energy source, I guess I would say. This takes up 45% to 65% of your total caloric intake
Whoa.
of the day. All right. Yeah, and so this is, people need to know that you need carbs. You need to eat carbs. You can't cut them out.
So why do
Like,
people think that you should be cutting out carbs if they're so healthy?
because people, I think, like to relate carbs to foods such as like bread and
Oh.
cakes and like um, dense foods, I
Uh-huh.
guess. So like cookies and uh, cereal,
Pasta.
you know,
Pasta.
pasta. But these foods are amazing, and so that's where I think that's what confuses people
Okay.
maybe. Um, However, every fruit and vegetable is carby.
Really?
Every a banana has like 26 grams of carbs.
I did not know that.
One banana. Um, yeah, every fruits and vegetables, every single one of them comes with carbohydrates, and it's really, really. I just think people really need to know that. And so then here comes protein. Protein's job is to basically build, repair, maintain, yeah, build, repair, and maintain your bones, skin, and your muscles.
Okay.
So, and you only need like 15 to 35%
Okay.
of your total calories that you eat a day to go towards protein. However, protein, obviously, if you're an athlete, you're going to be eating more protein because you're tearing your muscles down and rebuilding them every day.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to want to increase that protein intake. And so this is like when I was a sophomore in college, I really was on like this protein kick for some reason. I worked out with um, guys, and they were crazy about protein. They ate, you know, chicken with everything. They drank protein shakes after every workout. Like they were really high on protein. And so I was like, oh, yeah, this is what I need to do.
Uh-huh.
And it really, like, I don't know, I didn't see a difference, like, at
I'm gonna
all.
say, did you notice a
No,
difference in like either your physical health or your mental health?
no.
What?
Like, I was like the guys that I was working out with, they worked out like 6 days a week and had like a day off.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I did. And it was just not for me, for some people. But I found a bigger difference when I switched over to working out like 3 to 4 times a week and just ate cleaner.
Okay.
That's I noticed a huge difference with that. But back to protein. Yeah, this is just like protein's job is to just like rebuild and repair and all that kind of stuff. And then your fats. So there are some fat soluble vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're like vitamins A, D, E, and K. And consuming fat just makes it so that your body can process these vitamins, which are essential.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I mean, all of these macros provide energy.
Mhm.
All food does. However, I think it's very, very important to know what each macro brings to the table and to not, you can't use a macro for something that it's not made for,
Mhm.
It just doesn't work like
Okay.
that.
I like I don't know, it's difficult to conceptualize then when there are people out there that, advocate for a vegan diet, you
Mhm.
know,
Absolutely.
vegetarian diet, and that's not something that I'm, bagging on or anything. I'm just, I'm curious to learn more about, you know, with your side of nutrition and how maybe how are they finding ways to get those helpful parts of our, our gut health that we need. What
Yeah.
other foods are they looking into to make sure they are getting their carbohydrates, their proteins, their fats, all those things that are essential for
Well,
us.
yeah. Like those who are vegan and vegetarian and everything under that umbrella,
Mhm.
they, they're getting their protein from beans and nuts,
Mhm.
lentils, legumes,
Mhm.
all those, any type of seed,
Yeah.
anything that a bird will pick up off the ground,
Mhm.
that's where they're getting their protein from. And it's, a lot of people are like, well, how do they get their protein if they don't eat meat?
Mhm.
Okay, well, protein isn't just in meat.
Mm.
And a lot of people, I feel like, I don't know, overlook that.
Okay.
A lot of foods have protein in them, but aren't, a protein food, I
Mhm.
guess, necessarily, like chicken or um, beef and fish and that kind of stuff. But yeah. And like another thing is like you don't need that much as much protein as you think you do.
Mhm.
A lot of people, really focus on the protein and it's like, well, you don't really need that
Wonder
much.
I wonder, because I know we talk a lot about balance, and I wonder if any of that, like, nutritional balance has to do with, what's just being marketed to us, what do we see on
Yeah. Oh
store
my God.
advertisement, right? Like, what's shown to us when we see a food advertisement in general for a restaurant? Probably, like
Right.
a burger, a steak, right? And, like,
Meat.
I yeah, meat, all stuff that, people who are vegetarian and, vegan, they can find
Country.
yeah,
Yeah.
they can find other sources for it, but again, it's like, it's so, like, unconscious to us, but
Yeah.
even in the things that we're watching, maybe even the things that we're reading, it's almost just, like, shoved down our throat.
It is. This country eats so much meat.
Mhm,
I'm like, that's another thing that like was brought to my attention from this, like these nutrition classes that I took was just like how much people are eating like meat, like burgers and steaks.
mhm.
And don't get me wrong, I love a good steak.
Yeah, I was like, "Let's not."
Don't get me wrong. Hold up. I love a good freaking steak,
Mhm,
medium rare.
mhm, absolutely.
But yeah, there's no like push for like eat your fruits and veggies.
Mhm,
It's like eat your protein.
yeah.
And
But
it's
even, like, the
yeah.
fruits and vegetables that they're giving to us that were in our store, right? Like, they're so processed
Oh yeah.
in and partially, right, it's them transporting them, like, from farm
Yeah.
to regular grocery stores, but, like, even the organic stuff, is it really even organic? Is the stuff that we're eating actually what it says to be? So
Right.
that's, like, my confusion, but also,
And
we have to be compassionate for
there
ourselves about
yeah. There's a lot of things that um are okay in the
Mhm,
United States. A lot of things that like the FDA approves
mhm,
that's like elite, like not allowed in a lot of other countries. And so it's like,
Why do we have these things?
why are you feeding? Literally, there are ingredients that you cannot put in, like high fructose corn syrup, the red 40 and yellow 5 dye that you see on processed foods are literally not allowed in like the EU.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like Europe literally bans their, like, does not feed their citizens this. Why is high fructose corn syrup the first ingredient on a lot of things here?
Because
Makes you
money.
think.
Money.
Yeah,
Everything is driven by money, and I think we all
like
know
a
that.
literal, I just
It's just shocking. Really, that's what it is.
shocking. It's shocking. Oh, I fell out of my chair. I'm so shocked right now.
So shocked that you almost fell out of your chair. I think so, honestly, like it's hard to talk about because it almost just makes me like so frustrated.
No, and that's how I felt in these nutrition classes. I was literally like,
We're
oh my
dumb.
God, we look like idiots.
But again, it's like, I think it goes to show that this is a cultural piece, right? And when we
Yeah.
talk about habits and behaviors being most of our unconscious behavior that we're not even aware of, I think it's about waking people up first and
Yeah.
providing education, right? And telling these people, hey, the stuff you're eating is actually things we shouldn't be eating. Not necessarily because it's banned in other countries. I think maybe that could say something, but just because they're not nutritious for you. And, the more that we educate people, the more that we're able, right, the behavioral changes involved, the better we can, physically help people in this
I
country.
know. It's just dealt with a lot of frustration, just like, oh my God. Like, not just what we eat, but like, this is getting into a whole nother thing, but like our public health in general in this country, it is just, it's embarrassing.
Well,
Just
and
the
not to bring up COVID, but just the response, like
Yeah.
how people were impacted by COVID, and the different impacts on
Well-being. Yeah.
whether you were overweight or not versus if you went to the gym or you didn't. And it
Yeah.
was interesting too, because I got COVID like 3 or 4 times and I am vaccinated and I had to get boosted, right? And I still got it. And I believe I work out.
Yeah. You're a healthy individual.
Yeah. So it's just interesting to see, the response to
Yeah.
thing.
Um, yeah, I'm literally, it's just so crazy. And it was such an eye opener that like we are we're a first world country. Okay. And
We are.
out of all of the first world countries on the planet, we have the highest infant mortality death rate. We have the highest obesity rates. Like we're number one in like everything bad.
I didn't know I didn't know about the infant mortality thing. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, that gets into like racism and all that jazz. But yeah,
Yeah. It's just
it's embarrassing.
it is embarrassing, and it's just interesting to see, how nutrition and everything you learn with, exercise physiology too plays a role in, your mental health too and your spirituality, whether that's religion or just
Yeah,
whatever you believe in. How all of that impacts everything
yeah,
holistically.
yeah. No, it's all connected.
hmm
Yeah,
So
pretty bananas.
I from how you started in nutrition, and then studying it in college and
Hmm.
probably I would assume still working on it even today. I feel
Yeah.
like healing is just never ending, so there's really no timeline.
I love
um was there any like key things or like takeaways that you got from it so far?
A huge thing is balance. I know we talked about this earlier, but that was a huge thing. Not like just being like really kind to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would say I don't know if I can speak for every athlete that ends. I don't want to say end, but like for an athlete that was in high school who didn't go on to play the varsity level like collegiate sport.
Mm-hmm.
It was a weird time for me in the like world of like physical activity. It
Uh-huh.
was weird. I only like did cardio and I wanted to look like a skinny little blonde bitch. And I just wanted to be really, really tiny. And I like, um, and that like that's not good for your mental health. And then like the next year I, worked out, strength trained and like ate a ton of protein
Mm-hmm.
and only had one rest day and like that didn't do anything. And then I um figured out that like I noticed more of a difference. Like I said, I noticed more of a difference working out like 3 to 4 times a week, just strength, no cardio.
Okay.
Obviously, cardio is really good, but I'm not a huge fan of running. So,
And it's, your body type too. I think that can be something
yeah.
we can
And yeah, and another
another
thing,
topic.
yeah, and like, so I'm gonna go strength train, but I really don't want to do cardio, so I'm not gonna do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm
Um,
someone that my my exercise routine changes with the weather. Like,
sure, yeah,
and
yeah,
it's actually, not
it
just,
does, yeah,
it changes whenever, but it actually has to do with the weather. Like in the wintertime, I'm in the Washington area,
yeah,
and when it's sunny out, I'm outside. And that usually means I'm running, I'm doing
yeah, doing
like,
something, yeah,
yeah, I'm kayaking, I'm hiking, I'm doing something outside because I know also sunlight is really important.
and yeah,
But
and
when
like,
winter comes, right, like I'm
right,
not gonna be
oh,
outside necessarily in the pouring rain when
will
that
not
happens.
catch me running in the snow.
No, yeah, I'm not gonna be running knee high, knee high, skipping over piles and piles of snow
Running,
when I can simply walk into a gym and go to the weight room, and I'm more likely to
yeah,
do, strength training
yeah,
in those winter months. And I'm not, and again, like this is my healing journey too. Like I'm still learning what's
right,
right for me, but I think, whether body types, whether
yeah.
you're a male versus a female, right?
That
Who you
that's a whole
identify,
yeah,
like that's a whole other discussion. But I think you're right.
dude,
You just got to be compassionate with yourself.
yeah, and know your physiology.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Female physiology is different than male physiology, people. Big
Oh,
time.
really?
That was yeah, that was my research project.
Ooh.
This past semester,
What did you guys research?
we oh, it's a mouthful. So wanted to notice, we wanted to see if there was a difference in substrate usage. So substrate meaning carbs, fat, and protein,
Okay.
and like perform athletic performance, I guess, to
Okay.
encapsulate everything that we did throughout the menstrual cycle.
Ooh.
So it was really cool.
Did you find out anything?
Yeah, we had a small subject size, so
Oh, okay.
that's sad. But we I mean, it wasn't statistically significant, but there was a small, like a little difference
Mm-hmm.
between the power output that you have in each phase of the menstrual cycle.
I'm curious,
It was
like
really cool.
how, for people who are on, birth control pills or,
Yeah,
like,
that was something too because like birth control, you're adding hormones
mm-hmm.
to your body, and so Yeah.
And just not even knowing sometimes when
Yeah.
you actually are in what stage of your cycle, because,
Hmm.
when you're have, like, an IUD or, something like that
Right.
in you,
If you don't
sometimes
have
yeah,
period, yeah.
sometimes you don't even know what day is what.
Seriously. It gets all messed up.
I'd be curious, though, with the research that you did, how that would impact, a larger sample size.
Dude, yeah. It was awesome. It was a great um research
Mhm.
question.
So, a couple of just, like, final questions, because I know we could talk all day
Oh my
about
god, I
this.
know.
Uh,
What?
what would you tell what would you tell yourself, like, having gone through this journey, still going through this journey, what advice would you give to your younger self or people that are just starting out, maybe day 1 of this process? What would you enlighten them with?
Trust the process, man. You have to trial and error. You have to go through the time of finding what you like and what works for you and what you don't like. Like, I know it sucks, but at the end of the day, when you do find what you like and what works best for you, you're going to be so happy that you put in the work
Mhm.
to do that. Um, Clean up your diet, really. I mean, anyone, not just athletes or, active people, but this country in general. Everyone needs to just clean it up a bit. And I say that, but I yes, I have a bag of Doritos waiting for me after this that I'm gonna eat. And that's okay.
Yep. Which
But
and again, like
it's you need to know that, like, okay, this is, the ingredients in this
mhm.
isn't really the best for me.
Well, and it's that 80/20, right? Like, you
Yeah.
gotta especially if you're really that first, like, day 1 of the journey, like, you're gonna have days that you mess up, and
Yeah.
you set out, to go to the gym or to buy all healthy foods, and
Mhm.
it just didn't work out, and, just from the mental health standpoint, you're gonna go through what's called a shame cycle, and
Yeah.
you're gonna get maybe within the first month, like, you're gonna do really well at changing your diet,
Yeah.
maybe it's all meals of the day for you, all your snacks, all your meals, you change, a month or 2 goes by, you're doing really well, and then, that 3rd month comes on, and it's all this doubt, you start to I don't wanna say excuses because I think that's a really harsh term, but
Yeah.
what your brain does is, it's something new, it's something that's really unfamiliar to yourself, and it almost attacks that thought like it's bad because it's
Right.
different, and, being able to recognize, like, "Hey, no, this is actually something that's helpful for me,"
Yeah.
instead of this is hurtful and, it's different and we have to go back
Mhm.
to what's familiar. If we
Yeah.
can recognize that, this is just something new that we're doing, you're gonna do a really good job at trying to avoid that shame cycle. And you're
Sure.
gonna I don't wanna say too, like, it's gonna be inevitable that you're gonna have a shame cycle, but I think at some point everyone does, and you just gotta be okay with it and just have some
Gotta
forgiveness.
ride. Roll with the punches. I like thinking about it like your body is the human body is incredible. What it does, it's amazing.
Mhm.
It's like a Ferrari. Okay.
Oh.
So why you're not putting, regular gas in that Ferrari, you're putting the premium stuff in it.
Mhm.
Do the same for your body.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I
And
learned
it will say thank you.
ooh,
Yeah.
it'll run better, it'll appear
You'll feel
better.
better. You'll just, yeah, and just the idea that knowing that, like, your body is performing as it should be. That's
Mhm,
a really, really cool thought to me.
mhm. Were there any parts in your journey that maybe you can speak to that maybe I don't wanna say inevitable, but that you went through that maybe you can give a little insight into people that are
Yeah,
new? Is there
totally.
anything
So,
that you think you'll get?
yeah. So, like, I had to, I went through this a couple times, um, of like just working out to lose weight
Mm.
and stuff like that. Like that was kind of my main focus for a few years actually. Like was, I want to work out because I want to lose weight and I want to look better and I want to, whatever. But then like, and then it switched and I was like, you know what? No, no, I'm going to work out because I want a healthy body. I want to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I want to, we, I can't remember what the class was, but one class I took, we talked a lot about mobility and flexibility in the older years of life, and how a lot of um people who are in, their like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s,
Mm-hmm.
they their mobility is really bad, and so they need help walking or getting up out of a chair
Yeah.
and things like that, and they fall and they have to get a new hip or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can, like, just think about that, like think about, this is going to help me when I'm older, and I'm not,
Hmm.
I swear to God, I do not want to be put in a home when I'm old.
Right.
I want to be able to walk by myself. I want to be able to do things by myself. I want to, be able to live independently for, until I die.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a long ways away, but I don't know. We took that class and it really put into perspective, like, okay, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I just want to have a healthy body.
Yep. Can you say any anything regarding, if people are listening to this and, it's their first day,
Yeah.
but I know we've experienced it too because we were out of college or we were in college and we didn't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And, people always say, I can't speak to if this is true or not. I should probably look at this, but
No,
people say that clean food is more expensive. And
sure.
I think a
I
lot of
get,
the
yeah.
time, yes. Uh, I don't
Yes.
know. I don't know the exact numbers, but
That is the first thing, you
yeah.
know, that's brought up is like, well, eating healthier is more expensive.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
How do
but
you go about, so when someone says that, how do you go about then recommending, their first steps? Hey, like
you
it is expensive, but what can you do? Like what would you recommend to them?
do your research. Know what's in
Oh.
season, because
Okay.
what's in season is going to be cheaper.
Ooh,
I
okay.
mean, you notice at one point in the year, grapes are really cheap, and then and another point in the year, they're freaking expensive. And you're like, what the heck? So keep in mind what's in season. Do your research, apply for WIC,
Ooh.
apply for freaking food stamps. Like, I'm serious. Like, you pay tax dollars. These services that are provided for us are paid with tax money. Get your get your money back, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Is
Hmm.
Do you think that it would be wise to like change all your meals up front, or do you start, one
Start
meal
with
at a
what
time?
Yeah. Start with what you like. Like, if you know you like something, stick with it. Like, it's like, let's see. And then, yeah, just introduce different foods and different fruits and vegetables and see
Oh,
what you like and what you don't like, and
mhm,
um
and slowly work your way up from
slowly
there.
just work your way up. I know there's like some easier fruits and vegetables that you can work with, and there are some that are harder, like potatoes.
Oh,
Um, and so, like, just, yeah, s- stick with what you like in the beginning, I think,
okay.
but don't be afraid to try new things.
I mainly maybe ask for myself
I
because,
know.
I'm still working with it too, right? Like, this is
Well, yeah,
not my world necessarily, but I like to learn, it's okay to not have every single meal, right? That balance.
Yeah.
has to be organic, locally grown,
Yeah.
GMO free, because I make a certain amount of money and
I'm not going
you
to the
know
farmer's market every weekend.
I went well, and
Buying
I'd go for the aesthetics because
Absolutely.
farmers
I can go
market
take a picture and leave.
I would love to do that. But realistically, now
Realistically, I
that
got $50 for the month.
being
That's
like
my
gonna be a student in grad school with immense amount of debt and
so much debt.
and even just graduating college, that doesn't necessarily mean
Oh
that
my
you
god.
start making money. Like,
No, yeah, yeah, and I'm lucky. I live in Durango. Morgan, I think Washington
mhm,
um has a might have a good grip on like providing for the people that live there. And so in Durango, I can tell you where every community garden's at, every communal garden. I know a lot of um, places that you can like co-op stores, and we have a ton of really organic grocery stores here, and it's really the town likes to emphasize how we have this stuff here and we
I
have adequate transportation to get us there.
mhm.
Like these are all things that it's all connected.
Yeah, in my
They all
first
relate somehow.
yeah, in my first episode, I talked a little about the difference of what I've learned, mental health wise, physically wise,
Mhm.
in high school versus college. And I really think that Washington, now that I moved here, has really opened up my eyes and my wallet, honestly,
Oh,
to the, stuff that we're putting in our bodies. And I think you're right. I think Washington does provide a good outlet for that, but I wish I utilized Durango a little more when I was
right?
there because,
Yeah.
man, if I lived there right now, it'd be a whole other ball game. I feel like I'd
Yeah.
be eating so much more healthier. I think it would be a little cheaper too.
Yeah.
Washington's very expensive. I'm
I
just gonna
bet.
throw that out there. And for people that are
No
listening
shade,
who are in
but
Washington know what I'm talking about because we don't have to go into the politics of it, but freaking gas right now was over $5,
that's
almost
crazy.
$6. And you can just imagine how the food was. So again,
It's
I don't want to bring it to that, but
here
I
we
just wish
go.
I utilize, the resources and just the culture of
Yeah.
Colorado in general, I think,
Yeah.
a little better. But
We like we like to hike.
yep. You
But
live
yeah,
and you
there's
learn.
for people who are like, I don't know where to start,
Mhm.
may not have the money. Do your research. That's like the best thing I
Okay.
can like really look into it. Like I said, this is a lifestyle change. You're gonna have to make some changes.
Yep.
Um, but I think it's totally worth it.
Long term, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Well,
was there anything else that, recommendations, advice that you think, listeners on here would
I,
benefit from?
just eat your fruits and vegetables, guys.
You heard it here, folks.
Just that's all you need to do.
Get that.
No crazy diets. All right.
Mhm.
No, don't. I mean, unless you have celiac disease or something.
Mhm.
But
But know who you are, know what would be
yeah,
beneficial for you, right? The balance piece.
you don't need to, go keto, or you don't need to. I don't even know. Can't even think of other fad diets, but you don't need to go to the extremes. You don't need to diet. You don't need to,
Mhm.
you know, it doesn't need to be that complicated. You just gotta eat those veggies.
Mhm. All right. Well, Zoe, I just wanted to say thank you so much again for being the first ever guest on Holistic Healers and truly embodying what it means to be a healer yourself. You talked a lot about, your credentials, what you've studied, what you've experienced, and your own healing journey. And I think, for anyone listening today, that's really information that all of us can take home with us. So thank you for everyone tuning in. If you are interested in following along, subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, follow my Instagram at holistic_healing_LC, or reach out to me on my website, holistichealinglc.com, for wellness sessions, tarot readings, or just to become a guest on the show. Talk about what you've experienced and what you would like to share to the listeners on here. So thank you so much again. Talk to you all soon. Bye.